Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we're checking out Doctor Who versus the BBC versus public service broadcasting. I bet Doctor Who wins, because he's magic. Or not magic, but he's an alien.
Every 10 years, the British Broadcasting Corporation is given a new Royal Charter, a document that outlines the broadcaster's aims and values in the coming decade. While the wording of this document changes from time to time and new parts are inserted to keep up with changes in broadcasting technology, the core values of the BBC have remained the same since its creation: inform, educate, and entertain. We'll call this the remit. Inform. BBC News is comprehensive and supposedly unbiased. It's available in every language and across the world.
Every language?
Educate.
Really?
Viewers should be treated like citizens, not consumers. And the programming of the BBC reflects that.
That must be nice.
The BBC's programming is always somewhat educational, highbrow, or exposes the viewers to different perspectives or cultures. And entertain. All demographics and cultures of the UK should be able to find something produced by the BBC that caters to them. There is an attempt to entertain everyone in society through music, drama, documentaries, sport, comedy, or children's programming.
Wow.
One of the most popular and well-recognised media properties owned by the BBC is the science fiction programme Doctor Who, which, even if you've never seen it, you know what it's about. There's a time-travelling alien called the Doctor, who uses a magic phone box from 1962 to teleport through time and space, solving mysteries and helping people along the way. Originally, this series was going to be an educational, family-orientated show.
Really?
The Doctor's time machine would be used to travel to the past to teach history, and then to the future to teach about science.
I didn't know that. Whatever BBC exposure I had as a kid came through PBS. Monty Python, Doctor Who, I don't remember anymore, but I know there was more. And yeah, they showed the nude parts. They didn't censor out the butts.
And then to the future to teach about science.
That's
The
creepy.
show's science fiction nature would be to attract children and adults alike. This clearly fits the BBC's goal and remit of being educational and entertaining. The TARDIS, as it's called, would not be the main point of the show, but would merely be a vehicle for the story and educational aspect. Of course, you know that isn't true at all. The original scripts had to be cut down due to budget limitations, and eventually the entire educational aspect was reduced to two of the characters being school teachers. To attract the parents,
I didn't know
especially
that.
hard-boiled fathers, the Doctor's companions were increasingly younger and more athletic. In reality, Doctor Who is about a time-travelling alien who can regenerate into someone new every time he gets mortally wounded, and the show is about him and his time machine rather than historical fact and scientific accuracy. And there's aliens and crawling around quarries in the Midlands and bad costumes. It's also for this reason that Doctor Who has always been an embarrassment to the BBC,
What?
but one that they've had to live with.
An embarrassment? That's a feather in your cap, BBC. Be proud.
Because although the series is insanely popular and now a staple of British culture, it's just ridiculous. It's just people in rubber masks and foam costumes. Perhaps it was entertaining in the 1970s, but it wasn't really informative or educational. Some critics have suggested that the Daleks' desire for galactic supremacy is a warning against racial prejudice or something, but come on. For this reason, the show received smaller and smaller budgets, making it more and more embarrassing for the BBC. In 1984, the Doctor regenerated into Colin Baker.
So they lowered the budget, and it got more embarrassing. Up that budget, BBC. Up that budget. Up that budget, BBC. BBC needs to get up that budget.
Whose characterization was intentionally irritating and cowardly as a way of weaning the public
I don't
off the
remember
show,
him.
so that the BBC could finally cancel it and never think about it again.
What?
Which they did in 1989. But surprisingly, there still remained a devoted fan base for Doctor Who, and the BBC continued to publish the Doctor Who fanzine every month during the show's 16-year hiatus.
Yeah, Tim Baker was the Doctor Who I knew and love, and still know and love. I don't know who these other doctors are. They don't count.
A few hardcore fans with connections to the BBC even went as far as to convince the Doctor Who cast to star in some bootleg knockoffs called The Stranger, but these are total rubbish. So the situation the BBC found themselves in was that they had an intellectual property which they didn't like and didn't want to fund, but had a huge cult following who they were obliged to entertain because the law required them to make programming catering to all members of society. If only there was somewhere they could broadcast Doctor Who that didn't have to provide any educational content
PBS.
Anywhere on television.
Yeah, man! USA, USA, USA. Oh! Yeah! Get it. Hit that banjo. Oh, they listen to a lot of banjo in New York.
Americans, by and large, have a dislike for large government programs and higher taxes.
Damn
meaning
right.
that the two public broadcasters
PBS.
the US has are subject to hostility and funding cuts by right-wing politicians.
I love NPR and PBS. Many people hate it. Because it's government funded.
As a result, PBS, the largest US public broadcaster, mostly imports programming from Canada, Australia and the United Kingdom. So the
That's
BBC
why.
could never ask them to fund a new Doctor Who series.
Why?
Instead, the BBC approached the Fox network in the hopes of making a Doctor Who series for American audiences.
Oh.
As a proof of concept, Fox asked them to make a Doctor Who TV movie that would be shown on the network. If it was popular, they'd fund a series. Because American
risky.
broadcasters have no remit or obligation to be educational, the Doctor Who movie was a lot more off the wall.
You're gonna base the whole thing on one crappy movie? That's not smart. That's not smart.
Violence and gore is widespread, there's nothing really educational, and it's just your standard save the world from aliens plot. This, I think,
Well,
highlights
that
the
always
main
works.
difference in British versus American television. BBC television was set up to bridge the cultural gap between the upper class and the working class of British society. Even as new profit-driven channels were introduced to the UK airwaves, these channels are still required to be politically impartial and treat viewers as citizens instead of
That
consumers.
must be nice.
Meanwhile, American television has always been profit-driven, with the intention to gain as many eyeballs on
Cigarettes, y'all.
sponsors as possible. In 1961, FCC Chairman Newton Minow called US television a vast wasteland, a constant stream of consumerist garbage.
He's not wrong. What did he say? I invite each of you to sit down in front of your own television set where your station goes on the air and stay there. For a day, without a book, without a magazine, without a newspaper to distract you. Keep your eyes glued to that set until the station signs off. I can assure you that what you will observe is a
Vast wasteland, a
Good timing.
constant stream of consumerist garbage. Anyway, on the 14th of March 1996, Doctor Who, the television movie, was broadcast on the Fox network. 9% of Americans watched, and most
I
thought
didn't
it
see
was a
that.
bit meh.
I didn't watch it.
In their attempt to create something with the American flashiness and wide appeal, while also trying to stick to the BBC's remit, it created a weird, muddled mess instead, and the Doctor's eccentricity was completely lost on Americans who thought it was just how normal English people acted.
He's British.
Yes, I suppose I am. Jelly baby, officer?
Jelly baby?
Just take it.
Fox declined to continue funding the show, which is a shame because Doctor Who with a budget the size of, say, Twin Peaks would have been sick.
I love Twin Peaks.
Instead,
Oh, yes.
this was not to be, and there would
love
be
Twin
no
Peaks.
Doctor Who revival, aside from a short 1999 charity sketch starring Rowan Atkinson, and the main take-home joke of that is
Really?
that the Doctor regenerates into a woman, and that's funny because nothing like that would ever happen. In the early 2000s,
Oh, wait. That was what's her name from Absolutely
generates into a
Fabulous?
woman, and that's funny because
Patsy.
nothing like that would ever happen. In the early 2000s, two successive director generals of the BBC decided to take the company into a more populist route, taking inspiration from ITV and other commercialised
Gotta
channels.
compete.
They decided, to hell with the remit, Doctor Who is a staple of British culture and
Damn
we're bringing
right.
it back. Who cares if it isn't educational or high class? Doctor Who returned to British TV screens in 2005 and has been broadcasting ever since, with numerous spin-off series too. They justify this by occasionally having episodes showing other cultures or the grim reality of the past, and producing educational tie-ins for schools like Doctor Who themed maths games. Probably most importantly, Doctor Who tries to remain up to date with current social trends and be inclusive of everyone who calls themselves a Doctor Who fan. That means despite the lack of quality in recent series, the show is basically uncancelable and will most likely be on air for a very, very long time to come.
Way to go. Oh, that's it? Oh. Hey, great video, Britmonkey. Be sure to go to Britmonkey's page and subscribe and like a video and give him some views. He's got some good stuff. I didn't know all this about Doctor Who. I actually thought it had been going forever. I didn't know they canceled it and brought it back. I think I grew out of it. Who's the current doctor? Look at all these doctors. William Hartnell, Patrick Troughton, John Pertwee, Tom Baker, Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, Paul McGann, Christopher Eccleston. I've heard of him. Why have I heard of Christopher Eccleston? Oh, yes. Was he in the movie The Others? He played the dad? He looks very familiar. Whoa, this guy's working. Do it, Chris. Danger Mouse? He was on the Sarah Silverman program? Doctor Who. The Others, yes. He was in The Others. Okay, yeah. Okay. David Tennant, yep, I heard of him. Matt Smith, heard of him. Peter Capaldi, oh yeah, I heard of him, I love him. Jodie Whittaker, oh, the woman. And now it's Mazzaro. Oh, I've not heard of him. What's his deal? He's from Rwanda. What else has he done? Let's judge his career. There he is. He was a Ken in Barbie, okay. Horrible Histories, I've heard of that. Midnight Summer's Dream. I'm glad it's still going. It's a great idea for a show. The motto of today's video is F the remit. Well, thank y'all for watching this with me, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Later.